Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillahi amma ba'd. The topic that I will be speaking about is different from what Sheikh Yasir Qadi was talking about. And mine is consequences of silence in the face of Munkar. Silence can be deafening when it comes to speaking out against critical issues. Even though speaking out against critical issue is part of the responsibility given to this ummah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. Let there arise out of you a group of people inviting to all that is good, enjoining the ma'ruf and forbidding the evil. And they are the ones who are successful. I'm still hearing a number of people talking. Brothers and sisters, out of courtesy, you have to let those who would like to listen in peace. And if you have to leave, men and women, leave quietly. Okay, you just listened to a very important talk about the role of men and women. So please practice a little of that right now. So it is a responsibility of the Muslim Ummah that we address what is munkar, what is evil in any form and shape in our lives and in society. While the very next verse tells us what can take us away from such a responsibility. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ تَفَرَّقُوا وَاخْتَلَفُوا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ وَأُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Do not be as those who divided and differed among themselves after clear proofs had come to them. It is they for whom is an awful torment. So remaining silent on issues may be seen as complicit in perpetuating harmful practices, or remaining silent can be seen as normalizing harmful behaviors. And nations before were cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for remaining silent when there is evil around them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لُعِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِن بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ عَلَى لِسَانِ دَاوُودَ وَعِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ ذَلِكَ بِمَا عَصَوْا وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ كَانُوا لَا يَتَنَاهَوْنَ عَن مُنْكَرٍ فَعَلُوا لَبِئْسَ مَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. Those among the children of Israel who disbelieved were cursed by the tongue of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam and Isa alayhi salam. That was because they disobeyed Allah, disobeyed the messengers, and were ever transgressing beyond bounds. They never used to condemn evil that people used to do, and evil indeed of what they have done. So remaining silent, nations before Allah has cursed. And so we are reading that in the Quran so that we too do not make that same mistake as the nations before has made. They have made that mistake, and Allah is bringing to our attention that we do not make that same mistake of allowing evil in our home, in our community, in our organization, in our society, in the world at large. We must not remain silent if there is something we can do to address evil in society. The question is why? One may ask the question, why do people remain silent on issues? Why do people remain silent on critical issues when they should be speaking out? There could be several reasons. I will mention 3 or so. First is a fear factor. People may fear retaliation or negative consequences if they speak out against injustice, oppression, and wrongdoing. And this fear manifests as concern about, oh, we might lose our job. We might face physical harm. We might experience social ostracism, or people of the previous prophets, they were told, if you don't keep silent on what we are doing, we will throw you out. We will expel you from our society. So sometimes we are afraid of all of these, especially most of us being immigrant or second generation of immigrants. We feel that if we speak out against certain munkarat, certain evil, maybe we will be asked to leave. Prophet Lut alayhi salatu wassalam, his people said to him, قَالُوا لَإِن لَمْ تَنْتَهِ يَا لُوتْ لَتَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الْمُخْرَجِينَ. O Lut, if you don't stop telling us about the wrongs we are doing, if you don't stop talking about it, we will throw you out of our town. We will throw you out of our city. What was his answer to them? قال إني لعملكم من القالين. I will continue to speak out against the evil that you're doing in this society. I will continue. So in other words, they're threatening him, we're going to throw you out. And he's saying, I will continue, I will not stop. I will continue to address this issue of the wrongs that you are doing. Another reason why people don't want to address evil in society, maybe lack of awareness, like we don't pay attention, we become naive, or as we say in America, you don't give a damn. You know, you don't care. I just don't care what is happening on the outside. And so individuals, families, sometimes Muslim communities, they are not fully aware of injustices or the issues that are at hand. They might not recognize the problem or its implication that would lead to sympathize with that cause, that will make them act and help those who are oppressed or those upon whom injustices were done. And so I think it was Aristotle. He said, and what is happening right now, listen to this. He said this over 2,000 years ago. He said, occupy the masses with long hours of work. Occupy people with long hours of work and reward them with enough pay to make them justify the long hours of work, so leaving them with little time to think or to debate. Subhanallah. Those in IT, those in the field of medicine, how true is this? That you work, you go to Japan, and people go to work 8 in the morning and they come back in midnight. That's why they don't even marry. And you know there is a problem there in Japan right now. You can read about it. The problem of the next generation, because the next generation are not making children. They are so busy and engrossed with their work. They work for maybe 16, 17 hours in Japan. You walk midnight and you will see the road is busy with people coming off from train. I've been there. I've been to Japan. And midnight train, so many people. I was wondering, why are so many people on the street? You will think it's like in the afternoon. These are people who voluntarily work long hours because they want to keep their prestige, they want to keep their job, they want to show how well I can work. And for some reason, so his philosophy is, give them long hours to work and pay them well so that it will justify them to keep on working. And they will have little or no time to think or to debate with what plotting on their heads. And if that doesn't work in today's time, if that doesn't consume our time, there is always a backup plan for society. And that backup plan is called social media. The social part refers to interacting with people, other people that you rarely know, by sharing information with them and receiving information from them. And that is why one of the highest age group of suicide on the social media are those between 11 and 22, 23. Because the social part, they feel that if I don't get so many likes, or if people are not responding to me, I feel as if I am nobody. So if we do not get enough work to do, then keep them into this social media, busy them with that. And the media part is to use whatever instrumentation or whatever communication to make sure this engine keeps them busy. Movies, sports, and everything in between. Muslims are more worried about the World Cup, whether it is World Cup of cricket or World Cup of football. They are more bothered about that than the genocide in Muslim places, whether it's Kashmir or Palestine. They are more worried who is going to win the World Cup. This is how silent we have become on munkarat, because we have been consumed with our work and with this social media that leaves us with little or no time to even think about what is happening to Muslim Ummah. You know, one professor of management in New York, her name is Annette Lechner, she said, we glorify the lifestyle. And the lifestyle is you breathe something, you sleep with something, you wake up and work on it all day long, then you go back to sleep again and again and again. Subhanallah. You know, once I used to teach Quran to some 6-year-old to about 9, 10 years old. And I used to go to their houses. Most of their fathers were doctors. And there was one 6-year-old in that group. I've never met his father. And I've never met his father, although I taught these children for 7, 8 months. So one day I asked this little boy, I said, I've never seen your father. I've seen the other children, their father. This 6-year-old boy said to me, Sheikh, my father comes home, he eats, and he sleeps, and he gets up and goes to work. And he comes home, and he eats, and he sleeps, and he gets up and goes to work. And just like that, I said, okay, so doesn't he take you out for a weekend? He said, he comes home, like as if I'm not getting it. He eats, he sleeps, and he goes to work. Subhanallah. So you can imagine the impact, even on our own family, as Sheikh Yasser was just saying, that even that role of a father is absent because we work long hours. The paycheck at the month can be 6 figures, perhaps, per month, not per year. Those of you who want to see salaries of doctors in America, you can Google it and see that if you have your own clinic, you get 6 figures per month. And that's normal. That's not like you work like it's out of the norm. This is what they would get. And so you find that if we busy ourselves with everything else, what time is left for us to address issues of evil in our society? And because we feel that I need to have a big house, I need to have special car, I need to have this, I need to have that, and by the time you realize what you really have achieved, you have lost pretty much everything. And these are real cases that I know. Boy is Hafiz al-Quran. After he finished his hifz, big party they throw for him. And then there is nothing after that. Because his father, being a doctor, this is another doctor family, he feels the more money I bring into the house, the better it is. In the meantime, he's the social media. He hook up with some friends who sing in the live show in the liquor restaurants. So he has a good voice, and everybody say, oh, mashallah, your singing is good, your recitation is good. So he decided he wants to go and sing in this pub, in this liquor restaurant. And mother and father, by the time they realize that this is what he is, this is what he is doing, he tells them, I don't care about Quran, I don't care about Islam. And then mother start crying, father start crying. So the money you get, and the fame you get from your son memorizing Quran, but there is no support for that child, then your whole ego has blown down like a balloon that just popped. Who are we going to blame for all of that? If we are busy and we don't have to address Munkar in our own home, and we wait until it has become so explosive. My dear brothers and sisters, this is where, when we lapse from the fundamentals and the command in the Quran, consequences can be extremely dangerous. Another factor is hopelessness. In cases where problems appear impossible, that this is not going to, nothing is going to change, people may feel hopeless and believe that their effort brings no fruit. Why do I even address this issue of Kashmir or Palestine or Burma? It's already done. There's nothing more we can do. This sense of hopelessness can also lead to silence because we turn our blind eye and look for something else. And so, brothers and sisters, what do we have to lose when we are convinced that we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our side? Prophet Yaqub alayhi salatu wassalam, when he sent his sons to go and look for his 2 sons, Prophet Yusuf and Binyamin. And he tells them, وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Do not lose hope in Allah's mercy. Certainly no one loses hope in Allah's mercy except people who disbelieve. A believer never give up in the hope of Allah. And he cried until he became blind. This is a prophet of Allah. But he bare it with sabrun jameel. He bare it with patience. And in the end, he made dua to Allah, made dua until both of his sons, in fact, all of his children, came back together. So we must never give up hope. No matter how desperate or how powerful a nation is, we cannot give up hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that hopelessness must not lead us to silence when there is evil that is taking place on our fellow human beings, and particularly our brothers and sisters in Islam. And so we have to continuously connect with Allah. That is the power of all powers. And so that might also cause us to make us feel silent, and we don't want to address issues. And so there are many issues that require people of conscience to raise their voices and speak out against. Religious violations, as we witness almost every year in the past few years, that in the blessed month of Ramadan, there is always a brutal exercise and torture of worshippers in Masjid al-Aqsa. Almost every Ramadan, this is the routine. While people are praying, shoot them down. And the video speaks for themselves. Violation of places of worship while the world remains silent. Or in India, burning and destroying of centuries-old masajid. Where are the voices of the bastions of human rights? Where is the voice of the Muslim nations to stop them from this aggression? There are social issues, the erosion of the family. We have been talking about that since yesterday. You know, our parents used to say back in their days, I'm sure all of us whose parents would have been maybe 70, 80 years old, you would have heard them say stories back in our days. Our parents used to say so, and we had to do it, and we did it out of respect. You know, my father was 17 years old, 17, 1-7, and he got a message. He was playing cricket, and he got a message that your father wants to see you immediately. That's my grandfather, he passed away before I was born. When he reached home, his father said to him, you are getting married tonight. Subhanallah. You tell this to a 17-year-old today, they really feel you have lost your mind, right? They might want to call 911 and say, this is child abuse. My father, my father called me and tell me I'm getting married tonight. And subhanAllah, he did not oppose. He got ready, and he got married that same night. And that marriage lasted until his first wife, may Allah bless her soul, died in childbirth. Then he married my mother. And he married her perhaps in a similar, not so direct, but in a similar way. Just all of a sudden, my mom came home from school, and my grandfather said, you're going to get married next week. And they got married. And my father lived with her until she passed away. So when we talk about family values, family life, today we find that marriage, the lines are so blurred as definition of marriage keeps changing, and we are silent on all of these things. We are silent in saying what happens with this society around us. Globally, all these lines of marriage have become blurred, so blurred that in fact it has been deleted. The lines of genders have been deleted. So now marriage is an open field. In California, someone went to a spa. And in the spa, they had 35 genders. And you have to say which gender you are at, you tick off. But there is a 36th gender. And you know what the 36th gender says? Anybody can make a guess? Huh? No, it's very short. A very short answer for number 36. No gender? That was like number 15. Any of the brothers want to make a try? Huh? Fluid? Oh, fluid was number 20. Number 36 says none of the above. Number 36 is none of the above. So you have 36 genders, 35 genders, and the 36th one, it's not there. It's just not there on those lists. Subhanallah. You heard Sheikh Yasir Qadi, he talks on these issues he has, some of his talk on gender issues on the YouTube, and I think tomorrow he has, is it tomorrow he has some talk? Or tonight? So you will understand all of these munkarat are taking place to the extent that now schools and countries who never heard of these LGBTQIA+, I will say plus the rest of the letters of the alphabet, where that is being a condition for the country to get help. And yet again, yes, there are voices, but where is the voice of the Muslim Ummah strong enough for them to know we do not see this as a way of life, we see it as a munkar, as an evil in society. The issue of poverty. If you lend a hand to the homeless, and there was a Brazilian pastor, he said that when you help somebody, they give you an award. You're a good citizen. You help another human being. But when you question why is that human being held in poverty, then you become a troublemaker. You must not ask the question why. So even on all fronts, you are being forced to remain silent on issues. So if you keep helping, giving out, oh, you're good, you're such a good person. But if you stop and said, why are these people? Why is that tribe? Why is that ethnicity in that state of poverty? Then you will be getting some names and some reaction that may not be good for you. Racial issues. How many people are targeted for no other reason than the color of their skin? And we have seen in many countries how people, there is a Black Lives Movement, there is every kind of movement, because people, the color of their skin is good enough to injustice to be done on them. Again, we might talk of these things and we allow them to go as a Muslim Ummah. These are all part of our issues. Genocide, the genocide of Rohingya, our Rohingya brothers and sisters, East Turkmenistan, the atrocities that have done to them in China, selling of their body parts, our Kashmiri brothers and sisters. You see, so much noise is made about Ukraine, and rightfully so. We're not saying that they should not make noise, but why make noise for 18 or 20 months every day but not for a single day the world raised their voices against the atrocities of other nations who went far worse of atrocities than that what is happening in Ukraine. Exploitation. So much of exploitation is done to children, the labor force, child labor, low wages. Half of the world's wealth is owned by the 1% of the people. 1.3 of the global wealth, 1.3% is owned by 55% of this world. You know, the top 2,000 people, they own almost $13 trillion. And brothers and sisters, do you know how much is 1 trillion? Easy way to know what is a trillion. 1 trillion means that if you have $1 trillion and you were to give away 1 million every day, let's say every day you give 1 million. From the time Prophet Isa alayhi salatu wasalam was born, in the year 0, until 2023, every day you give out 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. By 2023, you will still have $265 billion remaining. So if they control $13 trillion and they were to give $13 million every day, they will end up still with $1.6 trillion at this point in time. And these are 2,000 people. Our hall just now had more than 2,000 people. So this 2,000 people that was here the last session, they owned $13 trillion. Can you imagine that? While poverty is all over the world. Exploitation of Africa's resources, precious minerals, how much is taken out from the days of colonization up until today. Such exploitation, the West supports such agencies, and you find that there are blatant human rights violations, while at the same time they claim we are the champions of human rights. They come to third world country and lecture to them on what human rights are. So on one hand, there is this exploitative dominance over these countries, and on the other hand, they teach the same people what is democracy, what is human rights. And if that is not enough, they turn around and show how poor Africa is, and they show some pictures of a child with an empty plate, with skinny ribs and so forth, and innocent people pool their money together to help the children that the upper class have exploited and left them hungry and without clothes. By way of example, have you heard about 20 million people that were killed in the Congo, and those whose hands were cut off by King Leopold so that Belgium can have the world's best chocolates, because cocoa was grown in the Congo. And to get to that cocoa so that they can enjoy chocolates in Europe, King Leopold waged war on the people of Congo, killing 20 million of them. And so many untold horrors. So today you hear about Belgium chocolates are the best chocolates. You know that. Belgium chocolates are the best chocolates. Then you have French Valrhona chocolate. You have Cadbury and so forth. They come later. Belgium chocolates are the best chocolate. You hear about Belgium chocolate, but you never hear about King Leopold. You never hear about the 20 million people whose blood soaked the earth so that they can have the sweetness of chocolate in their palaces and all over the world. Legacy of colonization, legacy of slavery. And the Muslim Ummah, we live with all these problems. I mean, we have our own problems. Don't think we are problem-free. But if we don't address these issues, when Allah has said, "Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas, ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah," you are the best of ummah that has ever raised for mankind. You enjoin what is right, you forbid what is wrong, and you believe in Allah. We are that nation that Allah has given us this responsibility. He didn't only say whatever evil falls on the Muslim Ummah, evil across the board. Evil across the board with any people, any society. Injustice is a global phenomenon. It's not only for one people. And Muslims, we should have stood out a long time in addressing these issues rather than remaining silent until our turn has come and now we cry out, who is going to help us with this and who is going to help us with that? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in a hadith reported by Abu Bakr radiallahu an, "Inna nasa idha ra'aw zaliman falam ya'khudhu ala yadayhi awshaka ay ya'ummuhumullahu bi'iqabin min." That when the people see an oppressor, but they do not try to stop him, soon Allah will cause all of them to suffer punishment because of him. Subhanallah. If we see an oppressor and we all remain silent and we do not try to stop that oppressor, Allah will cause all the people to suffer because of his evil. And this hadith is reported by At-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawud, and others. And so, my dear brothers and sisters, remaining silent is not an option for this Muslim Ummah. Today we have the social media. The minimum we can do, and this is for the younger generation, instead of looking for friends on Facebook and tell them what you eat and what you wear and what you do, if you just send out one message that today there is a massacre in such and such a place, or this oppression against such people has taken place, and we should all share that information to know that atrocities are done in such and such a place, I think we would have used that freedom, we would have used that medium of communication for the purpose of forbidding evil in our society. But if we see all of these things happening, but that does not belong to us. What belongs to us is how many friends I can have, how many likes I can have, how many followers I can have. They are not following you for good whatsoever. Neither are you following them for anything that is good. And Allah will question us about that. So, there is no option for a Muslim to remain silent in the face of aggression, in the face of injustice, in the face of munkar and evil in society. Our duty is to in any way inform whatever we can do to address these issues. We should. It's already late. But I will leave one thing with you, all of you, boys and girls, especially our teens. See which issue you think is, and you have to have your facts right. Don't just copy and paste and send things around, if it's not happening. Find some cause and go after that and make it known to all your friends. Make it known to whoever you can make it known to, that these are the atrocities that have happened. Research the Belgium chocolate. Research how 20 million people lost their lives for the same chocolates that we in a free world enjoy. How many kids, how many men and women died so that we can enjoy. I'm not saying to stop eat chocolates, but we must understand that atrocities have taken place on nations for simple things that we take for granted and we don't care about addressing them. So if you can do that, you will at least on the day of Qiyamah stand up and say, Ya Allah, I tried my best. You had the means, you have the tool, you have the information, you have the education. It is our choice that we have to do, or our choice we don't. But then we pay the consequences in this world and then the consequences in the hereafter. May Allah help us all. May Allah help us to speak out against evil in society, whatever form it takes, to whomever it happens, whether to animals, whether to the environment, whether to people. If it is evil, as part of our Muslim responsibility is to address them and whatever we can to speak out against them. May Allah help us all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah.